Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, KingStix, and we're going to be doing a tier list for this patch 10.8 for the best solo queue junglers in League of Legends. Something you need to keep in mind is you can get diamond with any of these champions, so just because I happen to put your favorite champion on low tier, don't get your panties in a twist. I believe in you. Another thing you should keep in mind is that most low tier champions are just highly situational, and they just tend to be worse. It doesn't mean that they don't have a really strong use case. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that this list is more geared towards solo queue jungling, not duo queue or flex queue or pro play. With that being said, let's jump right into it. First up on the list, we have Zed. For those of you who don't understand why he's even on here, League of Legends gave him a big buff versus monster camps. It didn't do much though. He has roughly a 30% win rate as a jungler. No CC, his ganks are mad, he gets low on health in the jungle. He really doesn't have what it takes to be a jungler whatsoever. Next up is Galio. I've put him higher up on the list in the past, but I haven't seen any history results or any players actually using him to give us any solid data, so we're going to leave him down here for now, but I think he could easily be up here a little bit higher in the D tier. Then we have a 2-for-1 combo. These champions, as well as Zed, have received buffs to be junglers. However, their win rate is around 40% or lower, and they are really weak, not very good at what they do. We have Darius and Garen. Darius is a little worse than Garen because Garen's clear speed is more consistent at least, but they're both pretty dang bad. Then we have a very slow clearing jungler. We have 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐿. If they would just buff his clear speeds, he could easily go up because he has lots of CC, but his clear speeds are bad. He gets soloed by just about everybody in 1v1 situations, so he has to give up scuttles, dragons, heralds, and he can easily get killed in his own jungle. Then we have Sion. You don't really see him much. He's had moments in the past, but he's still pretty weak right now. And then we have arguably the best F tier champion, which is 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐿. Once again, even with F tier, you can take any of these champions except for maybe these four right here into diamond. It's really anything I'd say E and up you could easily get diamond with if you really put the time in. But with these champions, that would actually be pretty hard to do, but you can still do it. Then starting out E tier right, we have Ornn, Aatrox, and Amumu. And guys, I am being very generous by even putting Amumu this high. He has one of the lowest win rates in the whole game right now. I could easily put him down here in F tier. The only reason we're putting him up this high is because he is very simple to play. So for people who are brand new to the game, he has such a low skill flooring that you could easily make the argument for him being in E tier. Next up, we have Malphite and Gragas. Gragas has much better ganks than Malphite early. Malphite's level 6 is insane, but Malphite's initial clear is bad. They've nerfed some of his AP scaling, so going for the Predator nonstop ult machine Malphite isn't near as good. Overall, you can still make them work. Gragas, you might be wondering why he's so low. He's a little bit better in super high elo, but not that great. He's mainly good in pro play since he has that hardcore CC on his dash. Pre-6, having a dash and a knockup pre-6 is really big as a jungler in pro play, but in solo queue his stats are just really bad. He can't solo anyone and his clear speeds aren't that great. Next up, we have one of the better junglers that they buffed who wasn't originally a jungler, and that would be Talon. He's quite a bit better than Garen or Darius because his ganks are a lot stronger. There's even an EUS player who's around D1 or Masters, I believe, and he only plays Talon jungle, and it goes with Ignite, but super cheesy and it's not that easy to pull off. Next up, we have a jungler who really fell out of grace, and that is 𝐒𝐿𝐿. He's just really weak right now. Then we have a jungler that no one even plays anymore, but I think is actually pretty strong in his own right, or at least compared to these junglers we're comparing him against, and that's Skarner. I'd say he's a little better than 𝐒𝐿𝐿 because his CC and his ultimate. 𝐒𝐿𝐿 right now is just really abysmal, but Skarner isn't much better. Then we have a champion who's been previously S tier seasons ago, and that is Taliyah jungle. She's kind of like an AP Twitch jungle. She gets red buff and then cheese ganks. We'll set her right here. She still has carry potential, but if she doesn't get a kill early, she's pretty much useless, or if she dies early, she's useless. Then we have Nocturne, very situational. He's good when lethality items are great. Lethality items are kind of meh right now. And then above him, we have a champion who I think is a lot more consistent. However, his ganks are worse, and that is Tryndamere jungle. Tryndamere mainly just farms. He has some decent 1v1s, especially against weak early game junglers, but overall he's pretty weak. And then above him, we have a champion that people ask me to play all the time for whatever reason, and that's Diana. She's really bad as well. Horrible win rate. Her 1v1s are super mad against a lot of the jungle cast. Yeah, she can solo people like Amumu, Malphite, Gragas, probably some of these F tiers as well, but that's not really saying much. So with that being said, she'll lead the pack for E tier. Next up, we have Sylas at the bottom of D tier. He's received a lot of nerfs, and he's just too strong as a jungler in general since he has a dash and a stun pre-6, and he has good wave clear. They've nerfed him a lot when it comes to jungling with his sustain and damage, so he's just actually really weak right now because of those nerfs. Then above him, we have Sejuani, one of the weakest tank junglers right now. It's just because of pro play. She has a dash and knock up pre-6. Like we talked about, having a dash knock up pre-6 like Gragas or Jarvan makes you a favorite among pro players because that heavy gank potential, people can't cleanse it, they can't QSS it, they're just trapped into the knock up. So she's really weak right now as well. Next up, we have a champion, which I don't know why they haven't reworked him or changed him yet, and that's 𝐒𝐿. And then above him, we have 𝐒𝐿. They're both very meta champions. 𝐒𝐿's like a melee Twitch jungle. If she can get early gold after her red buff by getting cheese gank, she's good. 𝐒𝐿's the same way. He needs early gold or kills, or he's just useless, and he doesn't scale well either, which is why he's behind 𝐒𝐿. Next up, we have a jungler who a lot of you probably don't even think about, and that's Pantheon. He has some good matchups. He can wreck things like Kindred or Graves, anything that's squishy, or even Talia, Twitch, or anything beats a Moose. That's not saying much. Talon, anything that he can just kill straight up 1v1. You jump on them, you beat him down, it's very easy. And his turret dives are really strong as well because of his shield mechanic and passive. Being able to tank the turret for that long is pretty big. With that being said, he does have some awful matchups against things like Wukong jungle. Anything with strong CC will ruin him, especially as he jumps in. Like Wukong ult will just spin him around. Pantheon won't even get off the stun or the damage or anything. Anything with a knock up, anything with heavy CC, anything that scales well tends to beat Pantheon jungle, but he's a really strong early game jungler who is quite a bit of fun to play. The next champion on the list is a little contentious and a lot of you will probably disagree with it, but I think it's Sett. He's very similar to Pantheon where his early ganks can be very strong because of his Q speed up and hardcore ECC. His ultimate is amazing if the enemy team has a champion who you just have to CC, or if they have a super tank, he's really good at that as well. Just pull them and slam them into their team, do lots of damage. He's actually decent against Zac because you can pull Zac out of the air with his E, put Zac's E on full cooldown, and Zac's E won't do any damage, which is Zac's dash. Not only that, but Sett can also ult Zac right out of the air. So Sett has some interesting counter matchups, being able to pull people out of the air with two of his abilities. Decent ganks, solid 1v1s. His scaling is kind of meh, and I would just consider him a highly situational champion. Next up is Volibear. He's not that bad. He's kind of like a tank version of Xin Zhao. He's just overall kind of meh. Next up, we have Mordekaiser. We haven't seen many Mordekaiser jungles, but he's been played in a high elo in various regions. He's semi-situational, but if the enemy team is mostly melee, Mordekaiser jungle is actually pretty solid because of his passive and massive AoE in general on his abilities. Above him, we have Mundo. He's solid if you play him versus a full AP enemy comp because of the bunch of free magic resists he gets in his kit, and also how he synergizes with Spirit Vistage. And he also has the highest jungle clear speed in the game. He can wipe through his whole jungle before the scuttle is even spawned in, get to scuttle before it's even spawned in. He can literally clear his whole jungle and get to scuttle crab at the 3-minute 10-second mark, which is the fastest in game by far. So really great clear speeds, plays well against AP comps, but in general his ganks are kind of weak, and a lot of the jungle casts can solo him, especially early game. And if you play Mundo, you have to ban Vayne because God bless. Main OP. Above Mundo, we're gonna have Twitch. He can carry much harder, especially if you get some early gold. Now, Twitch is difficult to pilot, and obviously if you are a duo in general on Twitch, or if you have a duo with your Lulu, Twitch could be much higher up on this list. Remember guys, this is just for pure solo queue, which is why we have Twitch so low on this list. He is a specialist champion, so you can't just pick him first time and expect to do well. Above Twitch, we have Qiyana. We don't really see Qiyana much here in NA, but EU West and Korea does play her. She's kind of like 𝐒𝐿 in a lot of ways, to where if she gets some early gold off of her dash stun ganks, she can get pretty dangerous. She'll scale up really well, but if she doesn't get any early gold, she's in a bit of a pickle. And above Qiyana is a champion a lot of you will probably disagree with me on, and that is Shen. I think Shen jungle is highly underplayed. He's really powerful in 1v1s. He has solid ganks once he does have his dash at level 2 or 3, depending on how he wants to farm. And his level 6 ganks are really strong as well. He can go to one laning gank and then immediately go to another laning gank with his ultimate. As long as your team is willing to work with your ultimate and they'll force the fight and you can ult onto it, he's very strong. So for low elo, he's kind of weaker, but if you're coordinated with a duo, or if you're playing in higher elo, I think Shen is a reasonable option, especially since he blocks auto attacks out with his W and its AoE. I think he could be a hard counter to something like a Twitch ult or any kind of ranged champions. And Shen is going to lead the pack for D tier. Let's move on to C tier. At the bottom of C tier, we have Riven jungle. A lot of people don't play it just because it's kind of difficult in terms of mechanics, doing her mechanics properly. It does have a lot of carry potential, but it does suffer from a lot of the same things that Qiyana or 𝐒𝐿 does. It needs early gold. It needs a kill in its first clear. Other than that though, it has great AoE. It scales reasonably well, and it's just a strong champion. Above Riven, we have a more traditional jungler, and that's 𝐒𝐂𝐈. He's just kind of meh right now. Whenever Dark Harvest or Conqueror is super overpowered or lethality, he's always really good. Right now, he's kind of just like the Mario of League of Legends. He's just okay. Above 𝐒𝐿𝐈, we have Vi. She's a little bit better since she has CC and some insane lockdown with her ultimate. I'm a little disappointed people don't play Vi more than she is played because I think she does have some potential. Above Vi, we have a champion who does virtually the same exact thing. He's just easier to play, and that is Xin Zhao. You could make the argument for Xin to be behind her or above her. In this case, we'll just say he's quite a bit easier to play, so we'll just go ahead and plop him above. Above Xin Zhao, we have Rengar. He is quite a bit better than 𝐒𝐿𝐈 in my opinion right now. Per patch, that can easily change based on the meta, but I do think Rengar is quite a bit stronger right now. Rengar is, like a lot of these low tier AD junglers, reliant on early kill gold. God bless though, if Rengar gets that early kill gold, it's super scary because of his ultimate mechanic just jumping on you and there being virtually zero counterplay. In the true late game, he does tend to fall off, especially if the enemy team has a bunch of hourglasses or tanks. He can really struggle in team fights. So in the late game, usually split push more pressure inhibitors, hopefully get Dragon Soul, but in general, he's a solid jungle champion as long as you know how to play him. Above Rengar, we have a bit of a contentious pick. A lot of you are going to disagree on this one, and that is Poppy. She has a lot of good counter matchups. She can counter anything with the dash, including Rengar, Xin Zhao, the 𝐿𝐼𝐀𝐋𝐒, 𝐒𝐿𝐈, Riven. Her level 3 base stats are insanely powerful in ganks or 2v2s, and like I said, since she has that W aura, which just blocks out all the dashes, she's very dangerous against specific jungle champions. Now, if a jungle champion doesn't have a dash, she's not particularly impressive, so in those cases, she'll tend to stay away from 1v1s and just focus more on ganks. She doesn't scale the best, but she has solid base stats. We'll put her at C. Next up on the list, we have Jarvan, a favorite in higher elo and or in pro play because of his dash mechanic. Really strong cheese ganks out of red buff. You can throw a lot of people off in solo queue, usually get a kill, if not a flash, rotating straight into the enemy jungler's opposite buff. Then we have Rammus, super scary in lower elo. As long as you focus more on your red side jungle, your raptors, your red, your golems, you'll be full HP in your first clear, and then if you gank after that on level 3, it can be very scary, especially if the enemy team is full AD, preferably, or if they're full magic damage. You're super scary because you can itemize completely to counter that, either go full armor, full magic resist. Against mixed damages, he's not so great. Against things like Vayne, he's not so great because of the true damage. Against things like Master Yi, he's usually fine because Master Yi doesn't have time to get a full build, but Master Yi at full build, same thing. He'll tear straight through Rammus. Overall, though, a great beginner champion, assuming you're clearing properly. Really solid ganks. Above Rammus, we have a jungler who has more options early game in terms of clearing, invading, and ganking. We have Warwick, super strong in 1v1s. Overall, very disappointing compared to how strong he's been in the past. There's been times where he's S tier, there's times where he's been E tier, and right now he's just kind of hovering in the middle. And above Warwick, we have a champion I've been dumping on a lot lately, but she's been getting considerably stronger through some little buffs and through some slight meta changes, and that is Kindred. She's a really great vertical jungler champion, kind of like a worse version of a Graves or similar to an Ezreal jungle, and she has decent options in that sense of vertical jungling tank junglers, things like the Gragas, Malphite, Amumu, Ornn, any kind of tank jungler or weak 1v1 jungler early game in the first clear. She can red buff straight into their jungle, ruin their clear, maybe get off a cheese gank, and if she does get some early kills, she's set up to carry. And she does technically infinitely scale as well. You don't really want to pick her though if your team's already full AD, since she does attack damage, and you don't really want to pick her if your team doesn't have a tank either, since you kind of need someone to front line, especially if the enemy team has a front line. I can already feel the salt in every jungler's veins who I'm about to do this to, and that is Teemo jungle is actually B tier. I know it seems super troll, but they actually gave him an insane buff, which makes his blind dart last twice as long on monster camps, which is crazy, especially against red, blue, Gromp, single target monster camps, because he'll be taking 0 damage. They also made his poison dart do 50% more damage to monsters, so his clear speed is actually really fast. He can clear faster than a Twitch jungler on single target monster camps in the first clear, and his ganks are really strong because of that as well. He has a really high base damage. He just stays on you with his ranged auto attacks with red buff. His W speed up can be really scary for other auto attack based junglers to fight. Things like Warwick, where Warwick's Q, his autos, his ulti, they're all auto attacks. You can wreck him sometimes, wrecks the Kindred, you can wreck Twitch. Yeah, so Teemo has a lot of good matchups. I will say he does still kind of need a tank on his team, but he's super annoying. He scales really hard, and if you don't take his red buff from him level level 1, he's actually super obnoxious to play against like a Twitch jungle. Above Teemo, we have a champion who's a little more dual reliant, but is a little bit more consistent because she does have a heal, and that is Nidalee. She's just decent. Then we have 𝐒𝐈RN, pretty dang strong. He's very weird to play though, and you should never first time pick him because you need to understand his jungle route and item build. And then above him, we have a champion who's actually very similar and who also got a buff to be a jungler, got a lot of bonus damage against monster camps, and who can literally solo blue buff and Gromp very fast at level 2, which is crazy. And that is Morgana. She can start on wolves, she can solo start on raptors, she can start with a leash, many jungle options. She has high damage, great scaling, a massive selection of items to build, including Hourglass, so she can counter out lethality team comps really well, or one-shot team comps really well. She has a lot of options. She's been getting a lot of buffs. Even her dark shield, her black shield, got a base stat buff as well. So Morgana is actually in a really great spot. She's super underplayed just because people don't understand her jungle routes and they don't truly understand how strong she is. But trust me guys, she has a lot of potential, especially if you pick her against AP jungle champions who are CC based like 𝐒𝐿𝐿sticks, Nidalee, Teemo. She can do amazing things with her CC and black shield. The champion I want to put at the base of B tier is Trundle, and you can make the argument for him to be much lower. If the enemy team has a true tank, especially an aftershock tank, Trundle is pretty good, maybe even A tier. But in general, Trundle isn't amazing because his ultimate relies off of soaking base stats, whether it be AD, AP, armor, health, whatever. It works best against tanks to make him very tanky because he's melee. Zac, for example, lands his aftershock, and then Trundle ults him for his full ult duration, which is roughly 5 seconds. Trundle will have an insane amount of armor and magic resist, get a bunch of healing, and you get super tanky. His 1v1s are solid, kind of like his Xin Zhao. He'll lose a lot of matchups, especially against things like an Olaf, or if he gets kited out by a Teemo or Nidalee. But against weaker junglers, maybe like a Riven, 𝐒𝐿𝐿, and anything kind of in E tier or F tier, he'll slay 1v1. But yeah, he is situational. You can make the argument for him to be lower. And above Morgana, we have Evelynn. She's in a solid spot. She's still kind of meh, especially once you start hitting D1 and up, and the enemy supports are buying pink wards all the time, making your life hell. She can give issues, but if you get gold on her early, she's really strong. And if you're a dual abusing her, you can make the argument for her to be A tier. She's really good in a dual abuse environment. Getting that free gold early just allows her to pub stomp solo queue. Above Evelynn, we have 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐿. 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐿 has the option of still going AP, AD, or a hybrid. He has a lot of item choices. Even though AD is far better, if he has to, he can itemize more towards AP. He also has better 1v1s than Evelynn in the early game, especially since he goes Ignite. He has just as many clear options as Evelynn because of his boxes. He can essentially start wherever he wants. 𝐒𝐂𝐂𝐿's in a solid spot right now and has high carry potential. And above that, we have Nunu. He's actually in a really great spot right now. Super tanky, strong gank, scales like crazy. Overall, a solid tank jungler. If you're looking to pick one up, he should definitely be on that list. Next up is a champion who we've been putting in F tier and E tier previously, and that is 𝐒𝐿𝐿sticks. He's in a great spot right now. He's been getting lots of hot fixes, lots of buffs since they reworked him, and he's situationally very, very good. And if not situationally, he's just solid all around because of his strong CC. He can solo start on wolves. He can clear blue Gromp at the same time. You can clear Raptors red at the same time. So his clear speed isn't bad. It's actually quite good. And his level 6 is strong. His cheese ganks are strong. He can rush Mobies. He has a lot of options in terms of items, jungle pathing, even keystones. So 𝐒𝐿𝐿sticks is in a pretty solid spot right now, especially in the current AD carry support meta of supports going things like Lulu, AD carries going things like 𝐒𝐿𝐿, Vayne. 𝐒𝐿𝐿sticks can shut that down real quick. He forces them to itemize into things like QSS or Mikhail's, which takes a while. So he's got some pretty strong mid-game power spikes into most comps. Next up, we have Lee Sin. I don't recommend him to anyone just because he's difficult to play, and even if you're playing him well, he's still pretty useless. You basically have to be playing him perfect for him to be good, but he is strong. Just go Conqueror and you win. And above him, we have Olaf. He's basically an easy version of Lee Sin. You throw Qs out, you're fast. As long as you go for the approach velocity, if you hit a Q, you'll be really fast. You're super dangerous. You have Conquer, you can solo dragons. You can solo most people in the jungle cast. Some of them can beat you. Warwick at level 3 normally beats Olaf. Very few things can beat Olaf at level 2 or level 1. Not only that, but he really kills nearly every single one of these 1v1 level 5 or lower or level 6 or lower. So there's very few things here that can actually fight in 1v1, so he has a lot of options. He's very easy to play. At the bottom bottom of A tier, we have Echo Jungle. People don't play him as much as they have been in the past. I think he has some very hard counters in terms of 1v1s, whether it be a Lee Sin or an Olaf, or whether it is he just gets CC'd down and dies. So Echo is still very strong champion, has good clear speeds, solid ganks, and considerably good scaling compared to most of this cast. For example, things like Olaf, Lee Sin, Warwick don't scale that great. Echo, if he goes Dark Harvest or if he gets a Mejayas, he actually scales pretty well. Next up, we have an even easier jungle, which is Shyvana. She can go AP or AD. Really great flex option in that sense. She can even go top lane right now with Teleport and Ignite. Really good option. She also has great scaling. At level 6, she's super dangerous. And overall, just a really solid AP jungle champion. If you're looking to pick one up who's really easy, Shyvana should definitely be on your list. Above Shyvana, we have a jungler who's a lot like Lee Sin, but an AP version, and that is Elise. I don't recommend noobs, beginners, or low elo play her because she doesn't scale well and she's difficult to play. But if you are platinum and up, and if you're looking for a more difficult jungle champion who can hyper carry early, if you're looking to pressure the map, Elise should definitely be someone you're looking to play. Above Elise, we have a super easy champion who scales like crazy, amazing in team fights, and arguably the best turret defending jungler in the game, and that's Zac. He's one of the most unique tanks by far since he can go over so many walls, and once his E's max, he can go over anything. You can go from golems into Baron Pit, you can go from golems into Dragon Pit. It's far longer than a Kha'Zix dash, so if anyone tries to get a turret, you just E onto them and the minions, pop them up, and you can usually kill people. Solo defend turrets 1v3, 1v4. Zac, even late game, can defend turrets against people 1v3, 1v4 pretty easily, especially with his Aftershock impact bonus. The reason why Zac isn't S tier is because his early game is so weak. His first 3 levels are really bad. His E's on a 20-second cooldown. His E doesn't reach very far at level 1. So levels 1 through 3, he's very weak. He can't solo anyone. His ganks suck pretty much at level 3 unless the enemies are just way over pushed. He really needs level 4, level 5 before his ganks get great, and he takes a while to scale. That is the only reason why he's not an S tier. And above him, we have Wukong. He carries a lot harder, a lot faster. For that reason, we're gonna have to put him above it, and Wukong has 3 ultimates. He has 2 ultimates himself, and his clone gets to use one of them, so it's just stupid. They need to nerf it already. I'm sick of it. And then in S tier, we have a couple of champions. First off, we have Graves. He's by far one of the biggest drooling champions in the whole game. Super overtuned, and he really doesn't take that much skill. Even if you're first time in Graves, as long as you have the right runes and jungle pathing, you'll do well, because there's virtually nothing that can solo him. Very few champions that can solo him 1v1. He can kite him out super hard with his phase rush build. Even if you flash away, he's going to kill you regardless. He's super nasty, especially in higher elo. His late game isn't amazing unless he goes for Dark Harvest or unless lethality is OP at the time. So in general, his late game's kind of meh, but his early mid game is disgusting. As long as he goes for turrets, heralds, that kind of stuff, he should be fine. But yeah, Graves disgusting. Behind him, we have Karthus. He's not nearly as mobile, and he can't solo quite as many people in the early game. He can still solo most people as long as Karthus is moving away from them. Then you can't kill him. If you choose to chase him, he'll kill you most of the cast. Now Echo's a hard counter to Karthus. Echo will just slay Karthus 1v1 and get away because he's super fast. But in general, Karthus is S tier. He has great ganks if he actually goes into gank at level 3, level 4. Amazing slow, insane single target damage, and he can just choose to power farm if there are no ganks, and then just gank at level 6 regardless with his full map point and click ultimate, just pressing R and just killing everybody. Really strong option. He scales well, and so you could make the argument he's better than Graves, but realistically he's not. Graves is OP. All right, now for those of you wondering why we still have a bunch of champions left over, it's because they're all S tier as well. Now I'm just fucking with you. Left some champions over because I was thumbing over exactly where to put them. I also wanted to leave him here to put a bit of suspense in your mind, so you'd be like, oh god, is he actually gonna put Kayn S tier? No, I would never do that. A lot of these champions, they've either been changed or they're just hyper situational, like Master Yi. In a funnel strat, he's basically A tier, low A tier. Super dangerous if he has a Taric, just disgusting to deal with. Now he has been getting solo nerfed on some of his base stats, and they have kept nerfing funnel every single patch. They keep nerfing it over and over and over and over and over to where funnel is still viable, it's just not as strong. It basically just turns the power spike into slightly later in the game, around the 20-minute mark. But if you are funneling, then obviously he's A tier. So for now, you could even say he's behind all these champs. You could put him at the top of C tier. Yeah, let's put him at the top. Let's put him at the top of C tier. That's a fair spot. Now, if you're following, obviously it's A tier. Next up, we have Kayn. Just going based off his win rate, which is atrocious. It's around 46%. You could say he's all the way down here. But Kayn in a solo queue environment could still get plenty of kills early if he's good or if the enemies are bad. And he's one of the best scaling junglers in the game on his second form, especially his red form, in my opinion. opinion, I'm not a big fan of blue Kayn. I like red Kayn a lot more for the play style. So Kayn is in a bit of a weird spot, but they have been buffing him a lot, and they're about to buff him in a few days, a big buff. So I don't want to place him too low. We'll go ahead and put him in front of Riven and behind 𝐒𝐂𝐈𝐀𝐋. But after this buff drops, I'm not sure how far it will take him, but it might take him to the top of C tier or even to the back of B tier. But for now, we'll just put him in front of Riven. Then we have some more popular champions. We have 𝐒𝐿, for example, who I don't want to put up too high. I'll go ahead and put 𝐒𝐿. If you're playing in super high elo, ultra challenger, she's a little bit better. But in general, she doesn't scale. She's not necessarily easy to play, and she's kind of poopy. So I really wouldn't put her up too high. We'll put her at the front of C tier. Once again, if you're in higher elo, she'll be higher up on the list. And then we have Ezreal. Actually very strong. I played him in silver, I played him in gold, played him in platinum, played him in low diamond, and I will tell you right now, his power spike at level 2 and his scaling is very, 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 very scary. Much scarier than Twitch jungle and true solo queue. Ezreal doesn't need a funnel. He can self-peel. He has better item options. He doesn't have to build crit. He can get a lot more utility if he needs to, or he can go straight into damage. Because of that reason, we're going to be putting Ezreal up as a higher range jungle champion, and we're going to be putting him here in B tier behind Nidalee. If he falls behind early, he's fucked. If he misses out on his red buff because the enemy invades him, he's kind of fucked. So he is situational, but in general, he's just disgusting in solo queue. And if he does get fed early, he's basically S tier. So we'll just put him right here in front of. It's tough to say if Teemo's better or not. I'll have to run more Teemo games, but they feel very close in what they do. But Ezreal's level 2 gank is definitely much stronger because of his E mechanic. And then we have Brand. His late game is one of the best out of the off-meta jungle champions. His late game is insane. Just disgusting AoE damage, insane CC with the Rylai's and his ultimate spread, W spread, E spread. He's so much AoE that late game he's basically S tier, but in general his clears are medium, his ganks are kind of medium, so all around he's just medium, but then late game is really strong. Because of that reason, the only fair spot to put him would be in low B tier or high C tier. If we're gonna put him in C tier, I think the best spot for us to put him would be in front of Kayn, behind 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐋. If they were to give him more damage against monsters like they did for Teemo, they only gave Brand like 20% more damage on his passive. That's tiny. Teemo, they gave 50% on his poison dart, or his poison normal auto attacks on his E, which is insane. So if they gave that to Brand, he'd be really high up there. He'd probably be a fucking A tier. And then we have Jax, who's S tier. Nah, I'm just kidding. Jax is super situational. He can play okay against auto attack based champions, but he is highly gold reliant. If he can get ahead early, especially if he goes for the Cinderholt Titanic Hydra setup, or if he goes for Blood Razor Titanic Hydra. Basically, if he goes for Titanic Hydra, which is super gold efficient on him because the auto attack resetter and the monster clears the split push option, he becomes very dangerous. So we'll go ahead and place Jax here in front of Riven and in front of all of these guys, but he is situational. If the enemy team is a bunch of mages, they're not even auto attack based, he would be much lower on the list in E tier or D tier, but in general he's kind of C tier. We'll put him in front of Riven. And that is going to conclude our jungle list for patch 10.8 for the best jungle champions for carrying solo queue. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say down in the comments below. Do you think I placed some people too high, or do you guys think I placed some people far too low? I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. But overall, these, in my opinion, these are the best champions for carrying solo queue and the most accurate tier list for carrying solo queue in a solo queue environment, no duo queue. Anyways, guys, my name is KingStix. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.